All right, good morning. We're going to focus on some vocab strategies. I have 3 really quick, really easy to implement strategies to share, and with the goal of hopefully giving everybody something that we can kind of turnkey and take right back to the classroom without a lot of prep. So just kind of a reminder, a refresher for those of you who have done letters. We can explicitly teach kids in grades 3 and up about 8 to 10 words per week. But implicitly and incidentally, kids are going to be learning about 2,000 words a year. So we need to give them strategies to be able to do that. This anchor chart kind of breaks down the ways that those look. So explicit instruction is our direct instruction that we're doing with benchmark resources. A lot of explicit instruction also revolves around morphology. So there are just some strategies and ideas on this free form that you can use. We also want kids to get to the point where they are doing just wide independent reading with strategies to solve words that they don't know. So all these resources are compiled and put together. And I'm going to jump over and switch resources. And I'll share this in the chat box. So here are some vocabulary strategies that you can implement right away in the classroom that should be super easy to implement. So the first one, and these are all things we talked about at letters, but just kind of a refresher and a way to kind of jazz them up using some AI tools. So the first one is gradient of meaning. This is a tool you can use later in units, and this is where you take either one strong vocabulary word and you give kids several different shades of meaning of that word and have them kind of organize that. Or you can use this with opposing words. So take a strong vocabulary word, come up with the opposite, and then have kids kind of lay out the words that you think go together. So one example from ChatGPT, I went into, I think this was a 5th grade word. I went back and forth between 4th and 5th grade, Unit 4. But one of the words that pops up in Unit 4 is the word civilized. So the opposite of civilized would be wild. I gave ChatGPT, I think I have to switch screens that I'm sharing. Nope, you can actually see. That's cool. So I gave ChatGPT, here are my 2 opposing words. I want 10 to 15 words that kids can use to manipulate on a meaning gradient. So I gave them wild and uncivilized. They gave me the rest of the words that you can see here on the screen. I would then either put those onto cards or just jot them down on Post-its, have kids manipulate those. Either I could put them into Seesaw and have kids do something independently. I could put them on Post-its or cards and have kids do something as a whole class activity. The goal is that we're kind of building those neural connections for kids, because one of the things that we know is that when a new word is connected to other words, it's going to be stronger and more retained than other words are going to be. Once I had that prompt in there, then I just needed to start saying, okay, I want to do this activity again, but I want you to use 2 different words. The word seldom was another word that was part of that 5th grade bank of words. So seldom and often, what are some words that would come in between those? Obviously, kids may have different opinions on the order that the words go. There really isn't a right or wrong answer. A perk of this activity is that kids are getting not only the words seldom and often, but they may not know the word periodic or the word intermittent. And so they may have to do a little bit of digging or teaching each other in order to get the additional words. They're building kind of this neural network of words that have a similar meaning. So that is one quick activity that you can recreate using ChatGPT. It can be done small group, whole group, independently, pushed out in Canva, pushed out in Seesaw, pushed out in Canvas. Pretty easy for kids to do and for you to create. Another thing that you can do pretty easily is to work with kids using connected texts. So I just went to a webinar about the best way to use AI to support vocabulary development. And one of the suggestions was when we have a program and it gives us vocabulary words and those words show up in one passage, yes, we're explicitly teaching them. Yes, kids are seeing them in context, but a lot of kids need to see them across multiple contexts. And so a powerful way for teachers to use AI is to build additional texts, especially for kids who need small group vocabulary support, where kids are seeing those words that were in that core anchor text that you're using with close reading whole group. They're going to see those same words in a different context. So I used School AI for this. It was super fast and easy. I asked it to create a passage of about 500 words or less. You can pick the number. 500 felt like a good quantity for a small group, but you could go up or down. Using vocabulary words for a fifth grade classroom, you would just kind of plug in your grade level. The words that were on the vocabulary list from Benchmark that were kind of highlighted were robust, drifting, seldom, and civilized. So I fed the AI tool the words, and then I also fed it the theme of the reading unit, which is how can other perspectives help us evaluate the world? So what it came up with is a passage. And the nice thing is, once you create a passage, it's super easy to share with other people. So this passage is called A Journey Through Perspectives. You can see those vocabulary words, robust and drifting, showing up multiple times in the text. So what we're doing is we're taking those words from being seen once, maybe twice in the floppy book or the magazine that kids get, and now having kids see those same words in a different context, being used additional times. So we're getting kids those 8 to 10 to 12 exposures they need rather than just 1 to 2 exposures. So explicitly teaching, they're seeing it in that core floppy book text. And now for kids who need vocab support, we're creating a quick, easy, small group text where they're going to see those words again. So that is a second strategy. Short, sweet, it's a fiction story. If it feels too contrived, the nice thing about it being AI is that you can have it do some adjustments to the text to make it feel a little bit more like you would want it to feel for the kids. The third quick and easy strategy, and this is honestly the one that I should have started with. There's been a lot of conversation about teaching kids morphemes, and I know that there's a lot of discussion and buzz around Benchmark not putting the morpheme instruction until the later units. And truthfully, it puts the spelling of morphemes in the later units, but the meaning of morphemes are woven in throughout. And so one of the things that we can do to have AI kind of amplify our vocab instruction is to pair ChatGPT and the words we see on our vocabulary lists to kind of come up with this morphology kind of super demonstration for kids. So looking at your lists of words, identifying maybe 2 or 3 per unit that are really strong morphemically that we can work with kids on those morphemes. That way, when they see those morphemes down the line, when it comes to spelling, they're going to be familiar with the meaning. We're really just going to focus at that point on the spelling patterns. So we know to support vocab instruction, we want to teach kids some words that have those high leverage morphemes in them. One example, if I'm looking at 4th grade unit 4, the word involuntarily pops up. I went into ChatGPT, and this is the easiest prompt. I wanted a visual morpheme map of the word, and I just typed in the word involuntarily. And here is what it gave me. So it started out giving me, here's, the morpheme map, prefix, what type the root word is, what the meaning is, if it's Latin, if it's Greek. I did not love this format, so I asked for a visual chart, and I felt like this would be much more student-friendly. So here are the morphemes that make up the word. Is it a prefix? Is it a root? Is it a suffix? And then what does it mean? And then putting that together. So this would be something I would do actually at the introduction of a new word. When I'm doing that explicit teaching, normally we say the word involuntarily means, and then we use it in context. When I was teaching what involuntarily means, I would explicitly teach. The word involuntarily actually has 4 parts to it: in, volunt, airy, and illy. And here's how those work together. Here is why we drop the Y on ARY to make that longer word. So we could kind of do just a quick whole group explicit instruction using that. I'm going to drop this organizer and the freeform resources that are attached into the chat box. And then I'm going to hit stop on the recording. And if anybody has any questions or other strategies or ideas, go ahead. Sorry, there's a lot of clicks and buttons. If you have any strategies or questions, go ahead and share.